Hello and welcome. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, the editor of naturalnews.com, and today we are going to be conducting an exclusive interview with someone that you've got to know about. She is the daughter of Max Gerson. He was the pioneering individual who introduced a raw foods diet or a juice diet and detoxification strategies to help people overcome cancer and many other diseases, including heart disease. And he did this decades ago, and he was oppressed for doing it. They tried to shut him down. They threatened his life. Conventional medicine tried to destroy his career. And here to talk about it on the phone with us today is the daughter of Max Gerson, Charlotte Gerson. Charlotte, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So we're talking now for almost 80 years this truth has been suppressed.
Yes.
How do you think Orthodox medicine, how have they been able to pull off this campaign of disinformation and oppression against Gerson therapies?
With publicity. They have huge amounts of money. That is the most powerful and the most remunerative industry of all. They have, just imagine what we are paying for Medicare.
Yes.
Okay? All of it is unnecessary if people just learn how to eat correctly, and they have no more pain, they have no more problems, they get rid of everything from migraines to heart disease and ulcerative colitis and arthritis. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're talking about a way that we could, in essence, probably prevent 90% of the cancers in our society and save our nation from medical bankruptcy, right?
Correct.
And yet, in order for that to happen, the drug companies would have to give up profits. The junk food companies would have to lose revenues.
That's the
And
problem.
they're the ones controlling Washington.
Well, that's what's controlling our government, and that's why we are having the problem with the FDA, which you know what we are calling it, the Food and Drug Administration. Well, anyway, the problems are so huge because they are so powerful, and they are able to suppress little people like the Gerson Institute and the Gerson Therapy and the Gerson doctors, and they have made laws. Do you know there are laws that started in California and that spread pretty much all over the U.S. that made it illegal to use anything but surgery, radiation, and chemo in the treatment of cancer. And if a doctor or other health practitioner used any other method, God forbid, for instance, nutrition, he lost his license and went to jail. There were laws against healing cancer.
Yeah, our readers and listeners really need to understand this point. There's a book, in fact, I think the author is Kenny Ozabel. It's called When Healing Becomes a Crime, that describes this in a lot more detail. But you're absolutely right. It is illegal. It is a crime to actually cure cancer or to treat it with anything that's not poison.
Yeah.
It's astonishing that this is happening. Just in case some of our listeners are not familiar with the Gerson Therapy or the Gerson Institute, can you give us a quick brief of what we're talking about here?
Yes. We are talking about a therapy that was developed by Dr. Max Gerson, my father, originally to control his own migraine headaches. And then he accidentally found out that with the same nutritional approach, by giving the body the proper nutrients and making sure it can be detoxified and functioning properly, he found first that it was also effective in overcoming skin tuberculosis. And then after the skin tuberculosis, it turned out that other forms of tuberculosis were also responding beautifully. And then it turned out that when he was healing tubercular patients under the auspices of the major Berlin hospital, when he was healing those patients, they often had other troubles like allergies, and they had high blood pressure, or they had maybe low blood pressure or kidney trouble or other things. And that's when he accidentally, by treating the TB patients, he found out that other diseases also responded and that he was truly healing the body. And that's how he parted company with Orthodox medicine.
And what year was this happening?
Oh,
Sorry.
This was 1932.
32?
Yes,
Okay.
32.
Now, where do we go from here, Charlotte? How do we overcome
Well,
the oppression?
we are starting to overcome because, first of all, the public is becoming painfully aware that Orthodox medicine is useless and harmful and doesn't help them. For instance, there is a new film out also, works in the same direction. It's called Healing Cancer from the Inside Out. And there's another similar movie out. It's now called Food Matters. That one was made in Australia. Both of those films feature the Gerson therapy, among other things. Okay, when this movie, Food Matters, was being played in Toronto, Canada, the line of people who wanted to see it went around the block of the movie. People are anxious for the information. The public is learning and understanding that their friends, their relatives, their loved ones, they're being treated with chemo, and all the other poisons, and they die miserably. They know, the public is understanding that orthodox medicine is drugging and torturing people to death. And they want the information. They're looking for it. And we have the information, and it's easy.
And at the same time, you've got these institutions, the National Cancer Institute, which is, medical fraud at its highest level. You've got the nonprofit cancer, the pink ribbon campaigns, as if we could cure cancer by buying more stuff at the grocery store.
Well, this is very interesting also. I'm sure you know that in 1972, our then President Nixon declared the war on cancer. And he said, if we throw enough money at this, we are going to solve it and we'll find a cure. And they threw money. But what they did, a total of approximately $39 billion of research was thrown at the cancer industry. But what happened, who got this money? They were the chemotherapy people. They were the drug companies. Yes. And what did they research? Did they research nutrition? Did they research fresh fruit and fresh juices and detoxifying? No. They researched more toxicity, more drugs, more chemicals, and more chemotherapy drugs were born. So much so, and at the time, you see, 25 years after Nixon declared this war on cancer. So he did that in 72, add 25 years, 95, 97. The USA Today and one other, I think it was Time or Newsweek, also came out with a result of this $39 billion, our tax dollars, that had been thrown at the drug industry, which is the richest industry in the world. And what did they come up with? All right, in 1972, 222,000 Americans died of cancer. In 1997, 560,000 people died of cancer. And that was the result, doubled and almost tripled the number of deaths with all that excellent new research and all the money that they had poured into it. Nothing happened except more chemo, more drugs, more deaths, more misery, more suffering. It is terrible.
And even now, our new president, Barack Obama, his mother died of cancer the day before he was elected.
Well, he doesn't know yet, and I don't know if we can reach him. This is always very difficult because if he were to get, for instance, let's say a letter from me or from the Gerson Institute and showing recovered patients, or the books showing recovered, or the DVD with professors showing recovered patients, what would he do? He said, I don't know anything about medicine. He'll pass it on to whom?
Yeah, the National
Cancer Institute, or the supposed people who know, which are doctors. And what will they say? They say, no, it's quackery, no, it's illegal, no. They scream and yell and fight it. There is something out which I don't know if you know. This was something that was published apparently in Switzerland. There was a book. It was written by a Hans Ruesch, R-U-E-S-C-H, and the book was called The Naked Empress, part of the Great Medical Fraud, and was published by Civis in Lugano. Okay, so what did it say? Why they don't want to cure cancer? This is just an excerpt. They are saying that triumph over cancer would mortally threaten the present clinical establishment by rendering obsolete the expensive surgical, radiological, and chemotherapeutic treatments. Such fear, however unconscious, may result in resistance and hostility to alternative approaches in proportion as they are therapeutically promising. And this is the important part that's coming now. The new therapy must be disbelieved, denied, discouraged, and disallowed at all.